There's someone in your life who texts back consistently, remembers what you said last Tuesday, and never leaves you wondering where you stand. And every time you're with them, you're scanning your body for a feeling that won't come, the electric jolt, the free fall, the proof that this is real love. Instead, there's just calm, and calm feels like nothing. So you start wondering if maybe you're one of those people who's incapable of depth, if you're too damaged to recognize a good thing, if something fundamental inside you is just broken. You've probably already started pulling back, creating distance, because how do you tell someone kind that kindness doesn't move you? How do you explain that the person who's healthy for you feels like a beige wall, while the one who forgets to call back feels like coming home? But what if the problem isn't that you're incapable of real love? What if your nervous system has been trained to mistake danger for desire? You're not broken, you're not shallow, and you're not imagining it. There really is a biochemical reason why the person who's good for you feels like watching paint dry, while the one who breadcrumbs you feels like skydiving. Here's what's actually happening. Imagine a slot machine. You don't pull the lever because it pays out every time. You pull it because you never know when it will. The unpredictability is the hook. That little surge of maybe this time keeps you coming back more powerfully than any guaranteed win ever could. That's exactly what your nervous system learned to crave in early relationships. Attention that comes and goes without warning. Affection you have to earn and re-earn. Love that never quite settles. Psychologists call this intermittent reinforcement, and it's the same mechanism that creates gambling addiction. The technical term is Skinner's variable ratio schedule, and it's one of the most powerful behavioral conditioning tools we know. If you grew up with a parent whose warmth was unpredictable, or your first love was hot and cold, or you learned early that closeness could vanish without explanation, your brain wired itself around that pattern. It learned to associate love with uncertainty. So now, when someone is consistent, your nervous system doesn't recognize it as safety. It reads it as absence. The dopamine isn't spiking. The vigilance isn't activated. And because you've been conditioned to feel love as a rush of relief after anxiety, calm doesn't register as connection. It registers as nothing. But nothing isn't what's happening. Your body is just reading the wrong signal. Let's go deeper. When someone pulls away and then comes back, your brain releases a massive surge of dopamine, the same neurochemical that fires when an addict gets a hit. Anthropologist Helen Fisher put people who'd just been dumped into an fMRI scanner and found their brains lit up in the exact same regions as cocaine addicts in withdrawal, the ventral tegmental area and the nucleus accumbens, your brain's reward and craving centers. This isn't metaphor. Your brain isn't choosing chaos because you're broken. It's choosing chaos because chaos feels like love to a system that was wired on inconsistency. The person who's unpredictable triggers the same neural pathways that keep a gambler at the table, the same circuit that makes an addict chase one more high. You're not weak, you're chemically hooked. And the cruelest part, the stable partner, the one who's actually available, doesn't trigger that dopamine storm. So your brain interprets their steadiness as low interest, as friend zone, as wrong. Let me tell you about James. He's 34, a software engineer. He grew up with a mother who was warm one day, cold the next. Never knew which version he'd get. He spent his 20s chasing women who were mysterious, who kept him guessing. Then he met Sarah. She was kind, steady, clear about her feelings, and he felt absolutely nothing. He thought he'd friend-zoned her, almost walked away, but he didn't. He stayed anyway. He told himself, I'm going to act like I'm in love and see if my body catches up. He went to therapy. He practiced sitting with the discomfort of calm. 6 months in, James woke up one morning and realized he was excited to see Sarah, not because she'd finally pulled away, but because she hadn't. The feeling wasn't a lightning strike, it was a sunrise. Slow, inevitable, warm. He didn't fall in love, he grew into it. And that's the truth your nervous system has been hiding from you. You're not broken, you're rewirable. What your nervous system learned, it can unlearn. Neuroscientists call this earned secure attachment, the process of teaching your body that safe is not the same as empty, that consistency is not the same as boring. It doesn't happen in a week, but it happens. Here's how. You stay. Even when calm feels like nothing, you stay. You notice the lack of anxiety, and instead of interpreting it as lack of chemistry, you name it correctly. This is what safety feels like. You practice. You let someone show up for you repeatedly without punishing them for not triggering your panic. You rewire the association one boring Tuesday at a time. You go to therapy and process the original wound. The first relationship that taught you love was conditional, unpredictable, something you had to chase. And slowly, your nervous system begins to update its definitions. The dopamine pathways quiet. The craving for chaos softens. And one day you'll realize that the person who's been steady all along now makes your heart beat faster. Not because they've changed, but because you taught your body a new language. The language where love doesn't mean fear, where presence doesn't mean pressure, where calm actually means, I'm home. There's someone in your life who texts back consistently, remembers what you said last Tuesday, and never leaves you wondering where you stand. And maybe today, for the first time, that doesn't feel like nothing. It feels like the rarest thing in the world, because you've spent so long mistaking adrenaline for passion, vigilance for intimacy, relief for love. But your body is learning. Boring was never the problem. Boring was your nervous system's word for safe, and safe was the thing you'd been searching for all along, wearing the wrong name. You are not too broken to love well. You were just taught the wrong definition, and every single day you choose to stay with calm instead of chasing chaos, you're rewriting that definition. Your nervous system has been telling you a story about what love is supposed to feel like. You don't have to believe it anymore. If this landed, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you're ready to rewrite that story, start today. Because boring was never the problem. Safety was just waiting for you to recognize it.